Having a partner that is securely attached can really help in healing the fearful avoidant attachment style. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because you had questions about my secure partner, and so we are going to talk about that, how that helped me heal. And I do think it really does help because when you are in a relationship with somebody who is also insecurely attached, whichever one that is, there are so many patterns and so many dynamics that you have to heal. It is definitely not impossible. And one of the good things about it is that you understand each other maybe a little bit better, how it is to react in a way that you don't really understand, and having to deal with this pain and trauma. There's just a lot to deal with. It's a lot of pain and trauma. Um, and being with a secure partner, there's mostly just your own trauma that you're going to have to deal with. That immediately also was the hard part about it. Before this, I had relationships or was in love with people who were probably also insecurely attached. And in a way, that was easier because I knew those dynamics. I knew what it was like to try to get attention from an emotionally unavailable person. So it was when I started dating my now husband, uh, it was pretty hard that I was so confronted with my own pain and my own trauma, and I had to deal with myself. I couldn't just fall back into old dynamics, and my fear brain was just completely uh, confused about what was happening. Why was I getting all this unconditional love? Why was he being so loving? And my fear brain made that into be, oh, he's just a kind guy, a good guy. He doesn't really love me. He would do this with everybody. So your fear brain is trying to um, make sense of the situation and trying to almost find excuses of why this is happening, um, while also kind of convincing you that there's still a threat, that he doesn't really love you. But it definitely did help me heal when I started um, recognizing my fear brain more and more. And the main the main way it helped me heal was that he really did give me unconditional love. His love was not based on conditions. It wasn't that he sometimes gave me love when I did what he wanted me to do. Um, it wasn't that he would only be loving if I was being a certain way. And in a way, I crave that because that gave me a sense of security or a framework to which I had to adapt. And now he just he just loved everything about me, which made me so confused about who I was supposed to be. And I had to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be, which sounds amazing, but it can be a pretty painful process to go through that, especially if you don't really know what's happening. So, receiving love without conditions is a beautiful thing, and that really did help me heal because it showed me again and again that the things that I was judged for or yelled at when I was younger, or had a parent that would take away love or be angry, that all of those things weren't reasons to be angry. That was just a choice that my parent made from pain and from trauma, not a very deliberate choice. But it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault because here I was being that same person with my partner, maybe probably even worse because I had so much pain and trauma that there was a lot of anger coming out of me too. Um, and yet he was still loving towards me. Um, and that it took me so long to get used to that. I remember vividly that we were together for 3 years, and then we took a walk outside, and I said, you know what, I'm still kind of waiting until you just explode out of nowhere. And I realized that in that moment, like I had been tense for 3 years, always tense, waiting for him to explode out of nowhere, get really angry out of nowhere. Now that I'm talking about it, I can remember what that felt like. Ugh, and I don't have that anymore at all. thank goodness. But I was tense for 3 years just waiting for that. And I remember his reaction. He kind of laughed and he said, "Oh, well, I didn't have that urge in the last 3 years, so I'm not thinking that that will come." And that moment I thought, well, maybe then it doesn't come. It just isn't going to. And that was just so weird. It felt so weird that it could feel this safe, that I didn't always have to be on my toes, be hyper aware or hyper alert that he could explode. Um, so that very consistent, calm, and loving presence was very, very valuable. Um, it wasn't that he was perfect, obviously, but he was perfect in the sense that he was just very kind and very loving and very, um, yeah, very consistent in his reactions to me, no matter if I was very angry or very loving. I do have to say that because of my fearful avoidant ways and behavior, he leaned towards anxious, preoccupied for a while. And so he did not know how to handle that. I craved a very strong partner that would, tell me when I was crossing a line, and he never really did. Um, in the end, I think that helped also because I just realized this is all me. I'm doing this. It has nothing to do with him. And I'm hurting him by being angry and lashing out and essentially being my parent. That caused so much pain in me. And so I took responsibility for my actions. But that was pretty hard that he he had no idea how to handle that. So he was loving and he was kind, but there was a sense of people pleasing a little bit. I just want to be completely clear because I don't want you to think that he was some sort of absolute angel and completely perfect, because that wouldn't be a fair comparison with your possible partner. So um, he wasn't completely confident and secure in himself either, but he was loving and kind and patient and calm, and that was very healing. Um, so yeah, he really gave me love without conditions. I didn't have to be anything. I didn't have to do anything. And he never gave me the idea that I was weird or that I had to change in order for him to be happy. Because he was securely attached, he didn't need a lot to be happy. He didn't need anything from me or me to be a certain way in order to be happy. Um, and it just kind of reconstructed so many of the ideas I had about myself. I really thought that I was weird, that I was difficult, that I was too much, and he never gave me that idea. And yeah, that was healing in and of itself, just to be with a man who didn't judge me or criticize me, my every move. And I remember this one time we were sitting in the car. So I was about 20 or 21. We just started dating. We were sitting in the car with my father. Um, and we were coming back from some sort of social event. And he was sitting next to my dad. I was sitting in the back seat. And my dad did what he did a lot of times after social events. He evaluated that with me and told me all the things I did wrong and all the things I should have done better. And that genuinely was with the best of intent from him. He, I know, never meant for that to be damaging for me. But what that did to me was that I always felt like I was doing everything wrong in social gatherings. And Aryan's reaction to that was, huh? Wait, what is happening? It was just a very genuine, startled reaction. Like, are you really doing this? Even though he was never the confrontational type. And I talked to my dad about that not too long after, and he said, yeah, and I was just surprised by that, because I thought I am raising you in the right way. Like that was just a situation where I was doing the right thing. So that was when we talked about it right after. and I didn't have the perspective I have now. And we talked about it years after, when I did have the perspective I have now, and he does realize how that probably wasn't the right way to raise me. But I so clearly remember that Aryan reacted that way, because in his family that was just unheard of. You just don't do that. You don't talk, you don't evaluate, you don't tell other people this is what you did wrong and you should have done that better and you should have done that better. And for him this was just so alien, which was a good thing. So it was examples like this that helped me reconstruct my image I had of myself, that I didn't need to be corrected all of the time. For the first, I think, 7 years of our relationship, maybe even 10 years, I was so scared in social situations, and afterwards, I would be the one that evaluated my behavior in the car. I would say, "Oh, but what if they thought I meant this, and I said this, and was that weird? Was I weird?" I asked that question so often, and Aryan always said, "No, it was fine. You're fine. You can be whoever you want. They are all loving and accepting." And that actually made me, at one point, decide that I am going to expect secure attachment from people. I am going to expect that people are loving and understanding and kind, and that when I don't do anything to actually hurt them, or be mean, that I expect them to be understanding and kind, even if I am weird, even if I do weird things. And that has been incredibly healing. So it was him, it was his family also, his like his mom and dad, and the way they treated him. Again, not perfect. I definitely also now, after 15 years of being together, see how their non-confrontational style can also mean that you don't talk about everything. And that is something that I did learn from my parents. So nothing is ever perfect. It's not like he was the perfect partner, but he was, or he is the perfect partner. I don't think that exists, but he was so good and so healing in the parts that mattered. And just seeing how their family interacted with each other, that was also very healing, in some parts. So I think now we're at a point where all the good things that I got from my upbringing, or just, being me, being very still, having like a, how do you say it, thorough personality, always looking for deep conversation, and having healthy obsessions, kind of comes together with his being always kind and calm. And even that wasn't always the case, because a few years ago he actually had a burnout, and I saw him change. Like he wasn't calm and patient anymore, which was very hard to see. That absolutely loving guy that I married um, slowly turn into somebody who was kind of getting bitter and lashing out, in not nearly the way my dad did, but he was. I was at a point though that I could handle it, and I wasn't scared of it anymore. And now he's out of it, and he's much more back to his old self, thank goodness. Um, so yeah, just to say that he is just a human being. He's not some sort of angel. He wasn't my savior. I really had to save myself, because he had no idea what was happening to me, and it definitely was too much for him. Um, but there were aspects that helped me heal. Another one was that he could be very wise at times. It's not that, especially when we were younger, I was 20 when I met him, he was 25. It wasn't that I would describe him necessarily as a wise person back then, but he had moments where he said things, and I was like, that's that's profound. And one of the things I remember is that um, I told him I was having such intense doubts, and I was so scared that he would reject me or leave me or abandon me. And he was very calm, and I wasn't. I was crying. And he said, "Well, that's okay. I understand, because we're not married yet, and you're very young. We're young, and you have all this time. We're not because we're not married yet, you have all this time to see if this is really what you want. And that's okay. That's okay. I hope I am what you want, but if that's not, that's okay too. I just want you to be happy. Ugh, just saying that. I mean, that isn't that the most loving thing you can do? And that just sent me into straight hysteria. I cried so hard when he said that because I was like, I do not want to lose you. I do not want to lose this. This is just really special. And it is. It still is. um so yeah, he definitely also said wise things. Sometimes, not always. It wasn't that he always said the perfect thing. I don't want you to feel like he's perfect because that wouldn't be fair to your partner. uh but he's pretty great. And he did put up boundaries here and there, and he probably should have done that more. But because he tended towards anxious, he didn't. He wasn't confrontational. He sometimes was straight up scared of me, which was hard to see. My fear brain made up a lot of stories about that he should be stronger, that I wasn't manly enough, blah blah blah. But in the end, I think that caused me to take responsibility for my own behavior, um, and decide that I was going to be loving because that's what he was to me always. So he deserved that back, even if I didn't know 100% sure if I wanted to be with him forever in the time that I was having so many doubts. He did deserve me being kind and respectful to him. And I think if he would have been stronger and put up more boundaries, that may have helped, but it also may have caused me to fight back more and test him more. And now I knew that just wouldn't work. There were no games to be played. There was no testing to be done. So I mean, I think there are so many ways in which a secure partner or just a healthy partner can be healing. It isn't one way necessarily. For him, I wish he would have put up more boundaries. But for me, I think that this was perfect for me in what I had to learn, and that I had to decide this for myself and take responsibility for myself. So it's, yeah, your partner doesn't have to be one certain way to help you heal, be secure. Um, when they are secure, when they are healthy, when they are loving, when they are unconditional, when they are respectful, when they are consistent, that is healing. And that can look very different ways. That can look very, how do you say that? Um, yeah, that can be in very different ways. So that is part of how my secure partner helped me heal. I hope this was valuable. If you have any other questions, please let me know, specific questions. I would be happy to answer them. But yeah, he really provided the basis for healing, and then I did a lot of work myself. So it's not that your partner fixes you or is the one that heals you. It's just that they give you the space to heal most of all, I think. It's still a lot of work. It's still hard. It's still very confronting. It's not a ticket out. A secure partner is not a ticket out. I hope this was valuable. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one. Healed and Happy is a tailor made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of a fearful avoidant attachment style.